For quite some time, my wife and I have been planning on taking a trip to Japan. It's been amongst the very top of countries we've wanted to visit for many years. And what can be said about this amazing country that probably hasn't been said before? I dare say very, very little. The juxtaposition of ancient architecture and modern architecture, all in one breathtaking landscape, the amazing food, the incredibly respectful and courteous people, the ease of which you can maneuver from one area to another with their extremely efficient train system. And when you step out of the modern cities, it feels like you've stepped into a countryside that's right out of a movie or a video game I've wrapped myself in. I could go on. And mad props to my wife. She really took the initiative planning this trip. She did an incredible amount of research to prepare and even started learning Japanese over the past year and a half. Without her, this trip would not have been near the success that it was. We were there for 2 weeks and could have easily spent a month there and still not have got a chance to see and do everything. Our journey took us to Tokyo, Hakone, and Kyoto, and as I'd mentioned before, the efficiency of their train systems, we were able to take several day trips. Places like Asakusa, Osaka, Nara, and Manoa were not far out of our reach. And one thing I failed to mention throughout all of this is the shopping. And my goodness, is there a ton of it. Now, I want to make this abundantly clear. The sole purpose of this trip was not to go collectible hunting whatsoever. But I wasn't going to go all this way and not explore a few places. So I did my research and I found some spots that were going to be in the area in which we were traveling. It's really hard to put into words how overwhelming it is shopping there, just in general. For souvenirs, for things to bring home for people, there's so much. And I'm going to talk about a few of the things that I found while I was there. I did make a list, but list for me never quite work out. It's like, hey, I'm in Japan. These are things I'm going to be on the lookout for. I didn't really check much off the list, but that's totally okay. I was really happy with the stuff that I did find. So inside this shopping mall in Tokyo is, on the top floor are a bunch of really cool stores. There's a Nintendo store, Capcom store, Sega store, and the Godzilla store, which I was not gonna miss while I was there. Of any of them, that was the one I was definitely gonna go to. And I didn't really get much at the Sega store. I did a pull on one of the Gacha Pan. Let's see. I'm hoping for Outrun, Shining Force would be cool. But I got Sonic 2, which is classic. I'll take it. Now, the Godzilla store, on the other hand, was just epic. So cool. There were a couple of vinyl figures that I was on the lookout for, and I'm happy to say I did find me an official Gigan Rex. I have a bootleg version. This is like the official sort of carded one from Bandai. And Gigan Rex, if you don't know, it's a version of Gigan that came out in a 2022 Godzilla short film. And the design of Gigan Rex is just awesome. In that short, there are multiple Gigan Rexes that fight, so it'll be cool to have two of these. Really stoked to have the official release one with the card. Another one that I was happy to find that I've kind of been on the lookout for is the Megaguirus. And I have a sort of affinity for the flying kaiju. Mothra is my favorite kaiju. This one in particular, I love the color scheme on it. It's got that sort of like glowing purple, and Megaguirus is just such a cool kaiju. So both of these are, at one time, I think they were Godzilla store exclusives. I think they've actually released these online now that you can buy, which is totally cool. But a good memory tied to visiting the Godzilla store and finding these. And then I found these little chibi Godzilla Mothra keychain, a little cute version of Mothra. I just thought was really rad and something I probably couldn't find here in the States, or maybe would have a hard time. And then a much more traditional kind of version of King Ghidorah. Seems like the backpack charm is really popular in Japan. Everyone kind of has these little trinkets, so I felt right at home adding those to my backpack. Something else I did grab at the Godzilla store was this blind box of Godzilla figures. It comes with 3 figures, which I thought was a pretty nice little bang for your buck. I got a Gigan, which I'm very happy about. I got Godzilla, little Godzilla here. I believe this is from 1999. It kind of gives you a little reference guide on the side of the box. And I also found a Mogura, which is one of the mechanical sort of robot kaiju. And I like the pink color, kind of stands out, it's different. But I thought these were cool. It's a little blind box of rubber kaiju Godzilla figures. And lastly, I don't have a Hidra figure. And this is a new line of toys in Japan. It's the Godzilla Burst. And I'm not really sure what separates it from the rest, but I do like the detail and design of this one. It comes with a little flying version of Hidra. And so I do like this particular kaiju as well. So this is the one I opted to bring home. But I thought these were neat. They were brand new, kind of just released in Japan. Something I haven't seen here in the States and we may not ever get here. But yeah, the Godzilla store is epic. If you're there, go check it out. It's a must stop down. There's so much crap you could bring home. You could bring home just a whole collection of that stuff. But really, really neat. And like I said, we also made a point to stop by the Godzilla statue, the Godzilla head, which was really, really cool over in Shinjuku. And at night, it's the time to go to see it when it's all lit up at night. So definitely worth visiting. And I guess while on the topic of Godzilla, there was a store in Kyoto at another mall, believe it or not, called Village Vanguard. And oh, dude, and I didn't even know anything about this store. I just kind of stumbled across it. And it had a lot of licensed merchandise, which is right in my wheelhouse. I did find these really awesome Godzilla books. This one here is sort of like a picture book of every Godzilla monster, little factoids. Now, it is all in Japanese. That's okay. I can just use Google Translate to translate it. But a lot of really cool pictures. Just a neat little book. And of course, the Legend of Mothra book. This thing is just all about Mothra. And Mothra's my favorite Godzilla kaiju of all time. And this book goes into detail of every version of Mothra from the film, some facts about it, the history of the character. It's just really cool. And so these are just really neat to kind of set out on my kaiju shelf. Something that, I may or may not be able to find here in the States. But if you are in Kyoto, there may be one in Tokyo. I don't know. But Village Vanguard, highly recommend stopping down at that store. You'll be blown away with the amount of stuff that they have. And you can spend a lot of time digging through all the different areas of all the different stuff that's there. But really cool find, the Godzilla and Legend of Mothra books. We did spend one day at Tokyo Disney Sea. We figured we're all the way there, might as well check it out. And Tokyo Disney Sea, of the two parks they have, is different than anything we have here in the States. It's really cool. It rained a lot that day. We fought through it. But nonetheless, I did pick a couple of things while I was there. I've always been really obsessed with ride design and ride car design. I don't know why, don't ask me. But two of the rides that we rode were 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and the Peter Pan ride, which are exclusive to Tokyo Disney Sea. So I picked up these Takara Tommy. It's kind of like a brand of Hot Wheels in Japan. The ride cars from both of those, the Neptune from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea and the ride car from Peter Pan's ride. Both are awesome, really cool. I definitely recommend checking out if theme parks is your thing. And had a blast there. Like I said, rained quite a bit, but it was still a really good time. One night in our hotel room in Tokyo, I kind of woke up in the middle of the night, half asleep, half awake, and on TV was this really trippy kaiju film that looked like it was from the 60s or 70s. And the main character looked really cool, and I thought, man, what is this? I'm too tired to pull up my phone and figure out what it was, and I thought, oh well, it is what it is. The next day, we were walking around, and we walked past a movie theater, and I saw that same character on a poster, and I thought, okay, now's my time to check this out. And come to find out, it's a character called Taro Man. And I kind of left it at that, didn't think much of it. I just thought the design was really cool. A couple of days later, while in Akihabara, we were in a toy store, and I was fumbling through one of the shelves, and tucked in the back was a Taro Man figure. And so it was destiny. And come to find out, after doing some more research, the character Taro Man is not from the 60s or 70s. It's actually from this sort of spoof tokusatsu film that came out in 2022. And a tokusatsu film is basically just like a live action special effects kind of movie. I mean, much like Godzilla, Kamen Rider, Power Rangers. And so it's made to look like it's from the 60s or 70s. It's an all original character that doesn't predate 2022. And the design is just awesome. He kind of looks like Ultraman, but he's got this really big, like, sort of sun face mask. And doing a little bit of research, there's not a lot about it, but I just thought that this is so cool. Something unique that was kind of following me around. It was just destined for me to bring this home. From what I can tell, this figure is not easy to come by, even in Japan. And I think I got it for a really good price. And so, again, very odd, very interesting. I would love to try to find that series. Like I said, it's a parody series of these tokusatsu films that were really popular, that style, in the 60s and 70s and even on through the 80s and 90s. But very interesting, very fascinating, something totally unique that I couldn't find anywhere else. And I love the story behind it, for me personally, and a really, really cool little figure, and something that I would never come across here in the States. One of the more random things I saw were these kids movie, the really messed up movie from the 90s, Kids, skateboards. These mini skateboards. I kind of kicked myself for not picking it up because it was just so off the wall and weird, but pretty bizarre that they had something like this there. I will say that there were a couple places I had mapped out to visit while we were in Japan that I was really excited about, and I really thought I was going to have some luck finding stuff there, but unfortunately I didn't. Now, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't visit these stores if you're ever in the neighborhood. I certainly would go back if I was ever there, or when we plan to go back, which we do. So I'll talk about a couple of those. One is Spiral Toys. Now, Spiral Toys is in Harajuku, and to describe it, since I couldn't film inside there, it's basically this tiny house that's off a side street, and it is packed to the brim. Every nook, cranny, shelf, everywhere in that store, from floor to ceiling, is packed with retro and vintage toys from Japan, from the States. And I'm actually surprised that I didn't find anything there, but I think I kind of know why. It was really crowded. It's a popular store, so I do think it gets shopped quite a bit by tourists, by locals, but it was just really hard to really get in there and get my hands dirty like I normally do. Just not a lot of room to maneuver. And on top of it, I didn't want to spend a ton of time in there, but I thought it was worth visiting. I thought it was worth checking out. Definitely go visit Spiral Toys if you're ever in Harajuku. Much the same can be said about Golden Age toys in Akihabara. Now, Akihabara has a ton of toy stores. Most of them are anime toy stores, but this one stood out to me because it really focused in on retro toys. And again, couldn't film inside there. Totally fine. I wanted to respect their wishes, but very small. Super cramped, but packed to the brim with retro toys. Now, at Golden Age Toys, there were a couple of things that I saw that I was really interested in. There was like this Terminator sort of figurine that looked like a soft vinyl. When I got it out of the case, it was like made of some sort of plaster. It was really heavy. So I was like, this is going to be cumbersome to bring home. Had it been a soft vinyl, I definitely would have picked it up. It had a decent price on it. I think it was like 20 bucks. There were a few things, but again, it was just really hard. Most of their stuff was behind glass on these shelves, so you kind of had to ask, hey, can I look in here? Can I dig what's behind there? And it was just challenging. It was crowded. I didn't want to spend a ton of time there, but both of those stores, Spiral Toys in Harajuku, Golden Age Toys in Akihabara, definitely worth visiting. I'll be back when we're back there just to see if I have better luck, and I definitely think you should check them out if you're ever in the neighborhood. So one store I had tagged on my list while visiting Osaka was Antique Mike. Now, much the same as Spiral Toys and Golden Age Toys, I wasn't allowed to film in there, but I did have some success finding some stuff, and it's essentially what you would think a store called Antique Mike would be. Some antiques, a lot of vintage and retro toys. I found these really cool keychain sort of figurines from Toys R Us from like the early 2000s. There's a witch and a vampire. So I don't know if these were Japanese Toys R Us, US Toys R Us, but they were really cheap and just really, really, really cool. And I was pleasantly surprised to find those. And then also I found this little wind-up toy by Midicom Toy. Now I have a couple of Midicom toys. Their Mafex line, the Terminator, really highly detailed, articulated T-800 from the first film. Really like that one. This is something a little bit different. I just saw it and it grabbed my attention. It was cheap. I really like the design. It's got like this Dracula cape on. It's a little wind-up toy. And again, something that I couldn't find here in the States. Something just really, really unique to Japan. And yeah, Antique Mike's is a really cool store. There were a few other things I had my eye on. Prices were a bit high there, but that's okay. And it was getting towards the end of our trip, and I knew that space was going to be a little bit limited with some of the stuff I was bringing home. So I kept it to these little small things. But definitely check out Antique Mike if you're ever in Osaka. Oh boy, the Don Quijotes and the Mega Don Quijotes. How do I explain these stores? Basically, anything you're looking for, you can find there. And I do mean everything. And it really came in handy for us because there was just some supplemental things we needed for our trip that it's like, oh yeah, we kind of need this. Like, you know, for instance, an umbrella or an extra duffel bag to carry stuff around in. Came super duper in handy. So definitely recommend visiting. It was the Halloween season. It was like a few days before Halloween while we were there, and they had a little Halloween section that was just decked out. It really reminded me on how the mom and pop drugstores or, you know, some of the grocery stores used to really go all out with their Halloween section back in the day. But one thing I did find was this really cool skeleton mask. And I don't know why it stood out to me. It's just very traditional, very well done. Was not expensive. I think it was like 12 bucks or something. I was in the mood for Halloween. It just struck me as something that I needed to bring home. It would kind of pack down easy, but I really like it. And I'll definitely put it up here just to have out, you know, just a skull. And it fits really well. And it looks good once it's on. So who knows? Maybe I'll use it for a costume. You must visit Don Quijote. You'll be overwhelmed. Usually there are like multiple stories. Each floor has something else. One floor is dedicated to cosmetics. One floor is dedicated to electronics. But you got to go. You know, you may even find something. They have toys. I didn't really find any toys there for me. They were very well picked over. Very, very shopped. So I was happy to even find this. But nice to bring home a treasure to add to my collection from the infamous Don Quijote stores. Gachapon, Gachapon, Gachapon. Man, is Gachapon a lot of fun. And, you know, you could very easily spend a lot of time and money trying to get the exact one you want. But if you go in the mindset, hey, I'll take what I can get, I think you'll have a lot of fun. Our first day in Tokyo, I found the only alien Gachapon that I saw the entire trip. I knew that they had these. I think there's been some different ones in the past. I think they've had some that have actual figures. This particular one I found had keychains. I did a couple pulls on the Gachapon and I found a Colonial Marines keychain and a Xenomorph keychain. So I was super stoked to even find the alien Gachapon. I did put some money in some other Gachapon while I was there. This onigiri recorder, I just thought it was so random, and I ate a bunch of these while I was there. You know, it actually works. You know, some Yaz flute onigiri. Oh yeah, this one really caught my attention. It's the dragon and wizard figure. I don't really know. I was hoping to get a wizard. I'm okay with the purple dragon. It's probably like the most common one. But this was just really cool. I've got a shelf full of these little kind of random PVC figures from the 90s and stuff like that. But it fits in nicely. It's whimsy. And I thought it was cool. I mean, there's so many different Gachapon. Oh, his wing. Oh, it broke. But another one that we saw we had to get were cats in various suits of armor. Now, one of our cats, Bodhi, has always wanted a little suit of armor. This is about as good as we can get for him. But I just thought it was very interesting, very cute, very Japanese. And so this little white cat looking very noble in his little suit of armor. That one grabbed my attention. There was a Jaws Gachapon machine, and it came with these little keychain sharks. The one I really wanted was the one that had the Japanese cover of Jaws with the Japanese writing. And lo and behold, that's the one I got. What's really neat about this one is you open its mouth and its eyes light up, which I think is super interesting. But man, Gachapon is just a whole nother thing. and I think they're like 300 to 500 yen. So they're a few bucks. It's definitely worth it. I mean, you don't know what you're gonna get, so there's always that gamble. But I highly recommend doing a pull on a few Gacha machines while you're there. They're everywhere. And so if you see one you really like, that you find interesting, jump on it, because you may not see it again. That's my recommendation. While in Osaka, we were kind of just walking down the many side streets and stumbled across this antique store, I guess you could say, collectible store, but on a much larger scale. There wasn't a lot of necessarily toys or things in there, but it was just a really neat store to browse. They had a bunch of life-size models, statues, whatever you want to call them, of aliens, xenomorphs, Terminator, predators, face huggers. They were all for sale. I don't know where these came from. Maybe they used to be in some sort of museum or dark house. I don't really know. Obviously, you know, how am I going to get that home? And at the price, it's way above my budget. But really cool to look at. Something unexpected. A neat little store. I don't remember the name of it, unfortunately. We just stumbled across it. But that's the beauty of Japan. And visiting places like Kyoto and Tokyo and Osaka, just go to an area and maybe find a few places that seem interesting and then go explore. Or just go explore without any agenda, which we did a little bit of that too. And I promise you, you'll be just pleasantly surprised at the number of stuff that you come across and find. The train system, I was so fascinated with it. I wanted to bring home something to, you know, remember all of our little train rides from. So this was actually a little bento box. You open it up and there was some food in there. You know, for me to snack on our Shinkansen ride back to Tokyo when we were leaving Kyoto. But I thought this was really neat. Something that kind of can display in here pretty well too. So a lot of fun. We visited a couple of record stores while we were there. One in particular, Union Records. When we walked in, we were kind of browsing, and a couple of songs that came on we recognized, and it was from the John Lennon Plastic Ono band. And it was the Japanese variant, and I asked the guy working there, I was like, hey, is that for sale? Would you mind me taking that home? Because I thought it'd be neat to buy the record that was playing in one of the record stores we visited. So I brought that home with me, which is really cool. Another record store we visited, I was kind of thumbing through the records, and I asked one of the workers there if they had any sort of Japanese shoegaze bands or any recommendations for shoegaze. I really love shoegaze, the genre of shoegaze. And one of the co-workers overheard me, and they put on a record that immediately just like, I was like, I gotta have that. And it's a compilation record of a bunch of artists that kind of are shoegaze and grunge. They're from Japan, Germany, the States. It's a lot of underground artists that I would have probably never discovered. But pretty sick that I found that to bring home. So I was really happy to find those things. Big fan of music, love to collect vinyl. And those are two pretty unique albums that I added to my collection. And I gotta say, the store that I was most impressed with, that I found the most stuff, I had the most success, were the Mandarake stores. This is a chain of stores in Japan. There's one in Tokyo, maybe a couple in Tokyo, one in Kyoto. I visited a handful, and you could easily spend hours in this store. Most of them are multiple level. You know, one floor is dedicated to physical media, video games and DVDs. The next floor is dedicated to manga and comic books. The next floor is toys, and specifically anime toys. And the next, it just goes on and on and on. So I really kind of kept my focus in on the toy floor, on the Mandarake stores that I visited. And I found some really, really awesome stuff. First off, this Mask, the animated series figure by Toy Island. This is the Cyborg Mask figure. Really cool. Not something I've ever seen here in the States. Anytime I see Toy Island stuff, I'm usually drawn to it. I try to pick it up if the price is decent. They did a lot of just quirky things. They got the license to do stuff like this. And so I really like this one. It was in good shape. I don't see these pop up very much. I love the card on it. It's got the mask, you know, really big and bright and colorful. So had to get this one. Thought it was really neat, and a cool version of the mask character. I was really hoping to find the Japanese card variants of the Kenner figures while in Japan, and I was, in my mind, I thought I was gonna find one, and I didn't. I found a couple of loose figures, but nothing really is distinct about those. They're the same figures that we got here. I was hoping to find the carded figures with the Japanese writing on it. Just didn't have any luck. I did find a power loader, but it was just the Kenner version we had here. Nothing stood out as being different that I saw, at least. So maybe I should have got it, maybe not, I don't really know, but wasn't really what I was looking for. I did, however, find this really cool Alien vs. Predator Xenomorph by Takara. It's their micro action series, and it's really neat. It's a good sculpt of the Xenomorph. It's got the Japanese writing on it, so it's something unique to Japan. Comes with a chest burster, a face hugger, an egg, and I think it's just really, really neat. Something that I probably wouldn't find here in the States, so it was a nice consolation prize to not finding any of the Kenner Japanese carded variants. It's really cool, and just something different. I don't have a ton of Alien versus Predator stuff still on the card, so this one was really, really neat. Happy to find something else from the Aliens franchise to bring home to my collection, and especially since it was something only released in Japan. Something else I found on card was this Thing Maker from probably the mid-90s. Yeah, 1995 Mattel, but it's the Japanese version of one of the molds. It's like a mummy sort of zombie creature. It's got the bright, beautiful colors on there, the Japanese verbiage on there. I found the Bogwog's Thing Maker set while in Salem a few years ago, and I just thought this was in really good shape, a really good price on it. Again, something unique in Japan, and just harkens back to the time in the mid-90s when this kind of stuff was just running rampant, and it falls in that category of creepy, spooky kind of monster things, and a really neat little find. Something else I thought was really cool is this Terminator 2 Judgment Day endoskeleton model set. Now, it's not your traditional model set that requires glue. It's more of a snap kit, but really, really rad. And, something that I'll probably end up keeping in the box. Maybe one day I'll open it up, put it together. I don't think this is something that was ever released here in the States. It's by Sunrise. I believe that's the name of the company that put it together. And it's just, I don't know, a really good version of the endoskeleton. It's from 2001. Like you can see on the back of the box, it just all kind of snaps together. You get a couple of weapons that come with it. So I don't know, I may be tempted to open it up. I believe I found this at the Mandarake in Kyoto, and it was kind of tucked back on a shelf, just staring at me, just staring daggers into my soul. And it's this Halloween mutant figure. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know that it's probably from the mid-90s. I don't know if we ever got anything like this released in the States. Maybe, I tried looking it up, doing research, and that's what really drew me to it. It's just like there's not a lot about it, but it's just a really cool little design, a skeleton with these bulging red bloodshot eyes, and apparently it makes sounds and shakes. I haven't opened it up to find out, but I love the packaging. It's in decent shape, and it was near Halloween. I was in the mood for spooky stuff. I don't think these pop up very often. I think it'll display really well. Really rad. Super stoked about it. And lastly, I saw this thing at the bottom of one of the shelves, and it's the Dr. Gangrene figure from Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. This is by Applause, and I've been on the lookout for one of these figures for a while, and really Dr. Gangrene, as far as the humans, is the one that I really wanted to find. And it had a really good price on it. It still has the little arm tags on there, Attack of the Killer Tomatoes, and so now I need to find a little killer tomato to go next to him to display. But, something that I'd never see pop up here in the States. The smaller PVC figures, I think, are much more collectible, much harder to find. But this one being a bit bigger, I think will display really nice, especially next to a little killer tomato. And so this was just so neat that I found this here. Because like I said, I've looked a lot of times at toy shows and stuff like that here in the States. I never come across it, but a really cool thing. I picked it out immediately. I saw it and I was like, I know exactly what that is. And so I was really stoked to find this and bring it home. Crazy you had to go all the way to Japan to find that. Maybe it was more popular in Japan. I don't really know. But a really cool find. Mandarake, what an incredible store. Make sure you have a little bit of time on your hands, at least 30, 40 minutes, maybe an hour, if you want to give it, some justice. If you really want to spend some time in there, believe me, there's enough. You could spend probably half a day digging through everything if you really wanted to. Us personally, we wanted to experience a lot of the culture, do a lot of sightseeing, spend some time really taking in as much as we could. It's impossible to see and do all of it. So, maybe this will help guide you through if you're planning on a trip to Japan, or if you've been before and you're going back. Maybe there's a couple of places that you haven't heard of that you want to try and visit. So let me know. Have you ever been to Japan? Do you plan on going? If you have been, what are some places that you visited that you would recommend on my next visit, or maybe someone else's first visit? That would be really neat. If this is your first time here and you've enjoyed what you've seen, do me a favor, share this with your friends, hit like, hit subscribe. You can stay up to date when I post new videos. Maybe someday in the future, I will do a whole trip that is dedicated to collectible hunting. As a matter of fact, in my mind, I would love to visit the Great Ohio Toy Show maybe next year. If I did a trip like that, it would be all dedicated to collectible hunting. But yeah, I love the conversations with my viewers. It's a lot of fun talking about all the stuff we love to collect, introducing me into new things I had no idea exist. And so, yeah, I definitely embrace the conversation, so please drop me a line. And it's like I say at the end of all my videos, let's be kind as we rewind and fast forward through time. Thank you so much for stopping by 2 Day Rentals.